As mentioned, we will be discussing the key of successful localization. We'll be covering the following topics. First, we will talk about what's the importance of localization for global enterprises, what can be the challenges and solutions throughout this journey. And before we dive into the QA, we will have small tips and takeaways from our from phrase as well as the Tuum language services, so that we can make sure you are excited to explore more about the localization journey. Let's have a round of intro about our amazing speakers today. Thea, Thomas, Beatrice, can you please say a couple of words about yourself and about 2M?
Thank you, Yuan. It's a true pleasure to be presenting with a forward-thinking phrase today. My name is Thea Dieterich, and I'm the founder and CEO of 2M Language Services. Can I first acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we are holding this webinar for us today here, which is the land of the Jagera Turrbal people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and their connection to land, sea, culture, and language. Thank you for taking care of this land for 70,000 years. This land also gave birth to languages. In Australia, there are more than 250 indigenous languages, and including many, many different dialects. And in Australia here, we work every day with a range of active Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island languages. Languages are living things that connect people to country, culture, and ancestors. And I also want to welcome our audience today. There's actually quite a lot of talent in the room. I've looked at the registration list, and to those who will be watching this recording, we do encourage questions, so hope this is an interactive session. My role is to work every day with companies, helping them to take their brand into global markets, right? To conquer international markets, increase their sales, and manage their risk in foreign legislations. But we'll hear more about this later. Over to the more important members of the team. So I'm passing it over to ladies first, Beatrice.
Thanks, Tia. I'm delighted to be here today. So thanks, Ewan, again for this opportunity. Yes, I hope that today we'll be sharing some interesting information for our participants today. My name is Beatrice, or Beatrice to be correct, as I have an Italian background. I'm head of translation and business growth at 2M, and I work hand in hand with our clients to understand their requirements and making sure that we're able to offer the most suitable services that meet their needs. And liaising with our project management team during the production line to ensure that the quality is always there and that our customers experience positive and successful localization results. And I'll pass over to Thomas.
Thank you, Beatrice. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Thomas. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at 2M Language Services. And my role is to assist, our production teams in optimizing and rendering more efficient processes through technology, through the use of technology, automation, and smart workflows. That today also include, language AI, which is going to be a hot topic of this presentation. So I look forward to discussing that in more details later in the presentation.
Great. And Tia, would you like to, do you have any introduction about 2M and
Sure.
Your fulfillment?
Yeah, sure. As you could see, maybe if you go to the previous slide, Ewan, 2M Language Services is a leading technology and language service provider here in Australia. We have offices, as you heard, I'm coming to you from Brisbane. Thomas and Beatrice actually comes from Melbourne. We have offices around Australia. We have global offices also in Europe. I'm actually flying to Europe tonight. 2 offices there. Our main office there is in Paris. In Latin America, we have 3 offices. We are in Santiago de Chile, Cordoba, and tiny in Bogota, in New Zealand, and also the Philippines. And as you can see on the screen, there's the translation and the localization unit, and we will be talking about this today. We also cover interpreting across 300 languages, and video and audio localization, which is of course your dubbing, and important today as well, the secure language technologies, language AI. Also important, you can see the ISO certification. Information security is our religion. So yes, we are not only certified for 27001, but because we're a defense supplier, we also comply with defense grade levels of cybersecurity and security, as well as translation services. You can see the ISO certifications. Over to you, Yuan. Thank you. Actually, the next slide will show just a little bit some of our clients. We just picked a few because you can see there is mining, there's BHP, Rio Tinto, some of the largest mining companies in the world. There's the so-called METS companies, which is mining equipment technology suppliers. You know, it's very, very big vertical here in Australia. You've got also defense. You can see Thales and Rheinmetall, European primes. You can see health, you can see academic university, public sector. You can see FIFA. We have the Women's World Cup in New Zealand and Australia last year, and we were a very proud supplier as well, plugged in there. So thank you. Over to you, Yuan.
Thank you for the great introduction. And so just say hi to everyone again. My name is Yuan, and I am the APA account executive in Phrase. And my main job component is my responsibility to help our clients to find a technology solution that can solve their localization pain point. And for those who don't know what Phrase is as a company, Phrase is a world leader in translation technology. Our localization platform automates, manages content for deeper customer connection and faster business growth. We have been around since 2012 and are securely backed by the Carlyle Group. Today, we are over 300 people across the world. Our main offices are in Hamburg, Germany, and also Prague, Czech Republic. We're delivering our service for more than 4,500 brands with global footprint to have a local mindset, as you can see on the screen. What Phrase is trying to deliver is a customer-centric, respectful approach to our customers, helping them have a scalable and resilient solution on their localization journey. As a technology provider, Phrase is a platform that typically strong in terms of integration. We provide wide spectrum of direct third-party system, and we also have REST API solution to link customers' self-built system in case they would like to have more customization. And the second part we are really good at is called hyper automation. We help clients to design a flexible and automated workflow from end to end to release the manpower from the tedious and manual task day to day. And the third part, which is also our topic today, AI, we are trying to introduce the latest AI technology into machine translation and quality performance, as well as editing, so that companies can pinpoint their human efforts in the place where it is really needed. I hope this intro gives you a background of us. Without further ado, let's start with today's first topic. So before we even talk about why do global business need localization, just in case if we have audiences firstly heard about the word localization, which you usually abbreviate as L10N. If we really explain it in a really short sentence, it is actually a process of adapting products or services to the language and culture of different target markets. You can see on the screen that I actually code a sentence I really like. Localization is a lesser known sister of customer experience. And I think that Tia, you can Can you share with us your finding and what you see from your clients and industry? What can be the importance and perhaps also business driver that companies think about localization?
Sure, thank you. Actually, this was a great quote by Giulia Tarditi. I've had the I know her. I've had the pleasure of listening to some of her talks at some of the Locworld conferences. I think it was Julia. If you listen to this at some stage, it was Locworld Berlin, not Malmö, which was last year. So yes, great. And of course, Beatrice, another great Italian talent in the industry. Why companies should think about localization? Look, we all know, and there's a lot of talent in the room, as I said before, localization is not just about translating content from one language to the other, right? It's about adapting content to fit the cultural, linguistic, and contextual nuances of a target market. So the cultural relevance is very, very important. I know that this is sort of common knowledge, but for those of you who are in here, maybe talk to your clients, our clients have actually understood that more than ever. Customers are more likely to engage with content that resonates with their cultural norms and values. We know that from the whole Anglo-Saxon approach, European, from the different approaches. You all know that about yourself. For example, a marketing campaign that works well in the US or here in Australia will not have the same impact in Japan because of the cultural differences. So localization ensures that your message is appropriate and effective in each market. The improved customer experience, providing content in a customer's native language, makes them feel valued and understood. Studies show that consumer prefers to buy products and services from websites or apps that offer information in their own language, right? So it is that enhanced brand reputation, that creates the trust and the reliability. And it's important that this is showcased, that those companies who are listening to this, are showcasing this through the content tailored to local needs, because only that creates the loyalty and the so-called stickiness. But think about which languages to localize into, because this might not be as obvious as you think, right? We want to go and conquer the European market, but I only have that much. This is my budget. Germans, they actually speak pretty good English. So we'd rather take that precious budget and localize for the Spanish. No, you need to look at local search behavior. Do not assume English proficiency in a given market negates the need for localization. I give you an example. We worked with an Australian pump manufacturer, right, that overlooked localizing their website into German because of what we just said, the assumed English proficiency in the region. Yes, they speak pretty good English in general, relatively, but this was not the point. What is the local search behavior? While we ran an analysis on the search behavior for pumps, right? Turns out that the entire Eastern European market was searching in German for pumps, right? Why? Because Germany has a very good reputation for high quality pump manufacturers. So by not having a German localized website, our Australian client missed out on this entire market. So once we localized it into German, the sales increased from the Eastern European countries, right? They also picked up Germans on this. So remember, think about a local search behavior. Another one is localization tolerance levels. It is again critical to consider a local market's tolerance for localization rather than their proficiency. So again, if you think, oh, the Germans, they speak English. No, tolerance levels for non-localization content is actually quite low in Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and some other countries. Why? Because they're accustomed to dubbed TV and films, just as one thing, right? We all grew up with Dustin Hoffman speaking English, German, or Robert Redford, Italian. So Scandinavian and the Dutch, those countries exhibit higher tolerance for non-localized content because they haven't known it any other way. They're used to consuming content in English. So again, don't just think of who might struggle more with the language. Think about the tolerance levels. Very important. So localization strategies should prioritize languages in markets where preferences and tolerance levels calls for localized content. That's as clear and simple as that, because that is supporting effective and receptive market entry. Then there's regulatory compliance. Different countries have specific regulations regarding content, advertising, and data privacy. Localization helps to ensure that your content complies with the local laws, regulations, reducing the risk of legal issues. But again, not only why you need to localize, but also think about when localizing. When you're doing risk management compliance, right? You have your code of ethics, all your safety information in different languages. Make sure the multilingual asset management for compliance documentation is correct. And you saw at the beginning of the slide from the phrase, many of the features it has, it saves internal costs of managing it and make sure you stay compliant. Health and safety is another one. Depending on your product, you are providing safety equity if you localize. Because not only those who speak English should stay safe in this world, in a mining site, in a pandemic, in an earthquake, right? It's about getting the information over immediately. So this is what we call time-critical language access. And you saw those connectors on Ewan's earlier page, right? So we have many clients where, thanks to those connectors, we can connect into their system and push out critical information. Back to brand consistency. Consistent branding across global markets is essential for maintaining a strong brand identity. And localization ensures that your brand's voice and values are effectively communicated in every region, reinforcing the brand trust and recognition. And the business drivers that Ewan was talking about. So we got number one, market expansion, right? Entering new markets requires more. As we know, effective localization opens up new revenue streams. Because your products and services become accessible to a broader audience. Competitive advantage, right? In today's global marketplace, companies that invest in localization gain a significant edge over competitors who don't, right? So you can differentiate your brand, attract customers who might otherwise choose a local competitor, increase sales and revenue. Localized content can drive higher conversion rates as customers are more likely to purchase from a site. We said before that feels where there's trustworthy, credibility. For instance, e-commerce platforms that offer localized payment options, right? So think it through, even to the payment option to be localized in customer support. So think it through to the end and they see a boost in sales. And of course, customer retention. Now, we all know retaining customers is more cost effective than acquiring new ones. Localization helps build long-term relationships with the customers by making them feel valued and understood. Few more. ESG, environmental, social, and governance. So that is a key word in all the boardrooms currently. So localization content is crucial for that as well, because it ensures that ESG, again, environment, social performance, governance, messages, and practices are effectively communicated and resonate with diverse cultural and linguistic context. So you need to tailor the content to local languages and cultural nuances. Organizations can then foster better engagement and understanding among stakeholders. This is really, I mean, these are drivers not only for your sales team, these are drivers for your board. So we're talking boardroom importance. And again, depending on who's in the audience, right? Who needs to go and get a localization budget, get a buy-in for a localization budget. This, in terms of getting the buy-in from the board, ESG is what we're seeing amongst our client, a very big driver. Inclusion and diversity. localizing content is essential for promoting inclusion and diversity. Also big topic, right? Because it ensures that all individuals, regardless of their linguistic or cultural background, can access and understand information, right? By providing the content in multiple languages, organizations demonstrate respect for diverse perspectives and experiences. So you see, you sort of kill a lot of birds with one stone, as the English say, right? Germans, by the way, kill a lot of flies with one flap. Maybe the last thing, localizing for culturally and linguistically diverse community, all of those who are in migration countries, right? So this is if you're localizing for migrants or expats. This is very different, right? Because it differs from standard localizing. It requires deeper understanding of the cultural context and the specific needs, right? Immigrants often face unique challenges like navigating new social systems, understanding local customs. So the language has to be different, right? It must go beyond the standard localization, and it has to include the language from the country they live in, be it Sweden, Australia, US, or Canada. So very, very engagement, accessibility. You know, I'm not going to hog the floor longer, but you can see there are many, many different drivers for sales, for the boardroom, for you know, we'll hear a lot more now, but in conclusion, localization is a vital strategy for any global company. I'm going to pass it over to Ewan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is a really amazing point of view. It's like we do see that how localization can facilitate global enterprise to entry new market, secure the existing market, and this basically and what we are really looking into this is like in the long run it can returns into the revenue to help the business growth, and especially when we enter the new market where there's already local competitors, then localization might be a really essential tool for global enterprises to even to expand their market growth. And especially when we are so I'm coming from Asia, and we do see a lot of global enterprises when they come into Asia and probably lack of the knowledge of localization, and things can be really messy, and in the really probably worst case that they might lose the market share in the target market in which they originally want to drive the revenue. So as mentioned, we have seen several vital reasons to bring localization into practice, but we do see some challenges, pitfalls, or even roadblock global enterprises face when bringing localization into practice. I believe Beatrice and Thomas have seen this kind of use case, or even customers quite a lot struggling in the beginning or in the middle, or so I believe can you please share with us what can be the challenges or pain points that global enterprises face when bringing localization into practice, and how you help them to overcome it?
Thanks, Ewan. Definitely. As you and Tia explained before, localization is a very important pillar for global expansion, but it does bring challenges. And that's why it's important to have the knowledge and the right tools to implement a successful strategy. We have helped clients that came from negative experiences, either because they tried to implement localization plan in-house and didn't have the right knowledge or the right tools, or because they relied on language service providers that didn't have the right expertise. And so we've helped them put together the pieces and achieve a successful localization strategy. So the first one that Tia was already touching on, limited market understanding, how that is important to know, how it's important to know your market, your target audience to deliver an effective localization strategy. Knowing the search habits, as Tia was mentioning, of your target audience and the localization tolerance level, but also the taste of your target audience. And a clear example comes from the video game industry. And I'm thinking of some Japanese video game titles where non-Japanese speaking players prefer to play a game that is very lightly localized. So without understanding the entire content, but retaining the original experience as it was designed in Japanese, rather than playing a game that has been heavily localized. And so that's a clear example of how we need to keep in mind the taste of our target audience when we are localizing content that entails also cultural preferences. And then legal and regulatory compliance. Again, yes, it's, each market has its own laws and regulations, and we need to make sure that the content that we localize adheres to these different regulations. And an example comes from again, from the Japanese market, the agri-food and health industry. It's a very clear example where we need to be extra careful when we localize content about food or potential benefits. Think about all the weight loss products that promise, to see results if you integrate that specific food product. Well, in Japan, there is the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act, according to which specific health benefits may be called as illegal promotion of health benefits, and so this would lead into a breach of local regulations. So very important to include a research on the regulations of the target market when we localize content. Budget is probably one of the major constraints, right? Resource constraints. So investing in good quality translation and in cultural adaptation comes at a cost. Of course, there are companies that, are very, it's important when we invest our budget to do this in a smart way. And that's why it's important to work with a language service provider who can leverage the smartest workflows and technology to use your budget for the highest result, also helping you to cut on redundant costs. We see clients sometimes that come to us with website content that has been copied and pasted into a Word document without consulting us first, where we have, thanks to phrase, content connectors that allow us to simply, streamline content sharing between clients' repositories and phrase. And that's a clear example of how we can help our clients reduce redundant costs. Quality assurance, which is a very important pillar for delivering a positive and successful localization strategy. Negative quality can cause reputational damage. It can be a financial liability and convert into reduced market trust. Not to mention the indirect costs of implementing negative feedback once the translation is out in the market. And so it is very important to account for investing into a high level of quality assurance when we localize our content. Yes, we work with our clients hand in hand. Ensuring quality starts from the very beginning, where we understand our clients' needs, do market research, and create, for example, a style guide of all the instructions that need to be adhered to during the localization process. But also ensuring that we have the right settings for the highest level of digitalized quality assurance in phrase, when our project managers run the project, to make sure that we're able to pick up inconsistencies, that we're able to adhere to client-specific terminology, that the quality assurance has gone through a thorough validation process. And then data, we know how important it is to liberate data. However, it's also very important to be aware of how the data should be structured in a way that localization technologies can leverage it to gain benefits, and also for the language service provider to have the right systems in place that allow to use that data. And a clear example is past translations. So some of our clients have, multilingual team members that have undertaken the effort of providing in-house translations in the past. And so that's very, very valuable content, not only because it allows us to help clients reduce their localization costs and use their budget better, but also to make sure that the quality is there, because we want to have the know-how that comes directly from our clients. And so working with a professional LSP allows you to have that information, to provide your data in a way that is going to give you benefits. And then data security, that's so important to keep that in mind from the very start, to ensure that there's not going to be any data breach or any non-compliances of data privacy regulations. And that's what we do with our clients. We assess from the very start their data security requirements, and we take that into account against the technologies that we utilize and our localization pipeline.
That's a really important challenges to hear, and I believe, Thomas, you have a real case to show us or some on from the technical side, as like in ideal scenario want to mitigate these issues. So can you suggest how your team helps clients overcome the mentioned challenges?
Yes, certainly. There's a few things that can be done, into overcoming the challenges that, Beatrice listed. I'm going to go through all of them. Most of them can be, you can use technology to assist you and smart workflow. First of all, determining output level. And this is mostly about, the quality level that is required for a certain type of content. This is about understanding your content. For example, is it informational content only? Is it marketing content? Will it then potentially require transcreation? What context will the content be published in, and how critical it is? So all of those questions help you define what quality level you will require for the content. And based on that, then, we can help you put together the best workflow, whether it's, using only machine translation or using a human in the loop. So this is something that is important. And there's things that we can do at the beginning of the localization process, with regard to that, but also at the end of the localization process. For example, using, let's say you are localizing your website, you have a very large website with a lot of pages, and at the beginning of the localization process, you're probably going to identify a few landing pages that are critical to you, and maybe some informational or customer support pages that are less critical. Potentially, you're going to use, human translation for the critical pages and only machine translation for the less critical pages. And then after the localization process is done, one thing that can be done is, for example, using the website visitor analytical data to determine, for example, if a translated page that was translated with machine translation actually is receiving a lot of traffic, then maybe it may be worth, retranslating it with a human translator as well. So even at the end of the localization process and later on, there's a lot of things that can be done with the data. Then tailoring for regional varieties. So we have some really good insight from Beatrice and Tia about that. The specific target market that you're looking at, it's almost like a standard communication brief, basically. Usually you will think about, what is the end goal of the localization strategy? Who is the intended audience? What is the desired projected brand image? So these are very common questions in a classical communication brief, but they also apply to localization strategy. And based on that, you should then build your localization strategy, your workflow, your style guide, term basis, terminology, to make sure that those are all aligned with the localization goals and the localization brief, right? Beatrice was talking about resource constraint before, more from the budget perspective, but what about from the human resource perspective? With generative AI today, we are facing an explosion of content. I mean, even without, but now that there is generative AI, we are seeing brand produce an exponential, larger amount of content. And that means that a larger amount of content that requires localization. However, it's not like the workforce of professional translator is growing exponentially or as fast as that. So what does that mean? Is that we need to find ways to optimize the use of human linguists, smaller, resource with a lot of content. And that comes with, for example, and mostly in general, having a savvy mix of language AI, machine translation, customized machine translation quality evaluation, for example, and human resources to make sure that humans are used when they are the most needed, and when they are not needed or less needed, we can then rely on language AI only. That's one of the things that is going to help us, deal with the growing amount of content. So for example, one practical example, I was talking about, quality evaluation technology. So, for example, machine translation quality evaluation, which is a technology that help produce scores of machine translated segments. And then we can have basically a logical workflow that will then define which segments are having a high enough score so that they don't have to go through a human post-editing, and which one are having a score that's low and then actually require human post-editing. So that's a practical example of optimizing the use of human resources in localization. And that comes from, really leveraging language AI. So I gave the example of, quality evaluation, but of course, quality evaluation is really useful by having, good quality machine translation in the first place. And the way to do that is really through customized AI and leveraging the depth of the data that Beatrice was talking about, for example. So, with a machine translation, efficiently trained machine translation engine, ideally, it will help you reduce the need for human linguists, or potentially reduce the post-editing effort when they are involved in the translation workflow, right? So this is another way where language AI can help optimize human resources. There's quite a big landscape of machine translation offering out there for most of the the main cloud provider as well, and most of the time you just need translation memory and a glossary to start customizing, but it's not always straightforward. So having a partner with the right expertise that can help you prepare the data, clean the data for training, and deploying those custom AI model is very useful, and also potentially help you choose between the different machine translation solutions out there, whether they are traditional, customizable machine translation, or even the newer technology which we call adaptive machine translation, and has also shown great promises. And then the data security, it's also very important aspect as well. So Beatrice mentioned that from the perspective of, let's say the manager of a localization program, which within the enterprise, it's really about, making sure that they are choosing the right technology partner that is going to comply with the organization, information security policies, or potentially the local regulation in which they are. So for example, selecting a platform that is securely hosted, that complies with, recognized international security standards such as ISO 27001 or SOC 2 Type 2, for example, and then make sure that the due diligence is done when selecting those partners, like review the privacy, the security policy, and also understand how your data is going to be managed, right? Because a lot of those platforms out there, they are also, leveraging third-party suppliers such as, machine translation engine or large language models, LLMs as well, quality evaluation models as well. So understanding how the data is shared and how is it going to be managed, whether, for example, is it going to stay private? Is it going to be used to train, AI models apart from your own? Is it going to be shared commercially with others? So that's very important to be across that as well. And also understanding your own requirements, for example, about hosting. Do you need to host the data in a specific location because you have regulation restriction, or are you able to host it in the cloud anywhere? So choosing the system that will offer you the right flexibility is also important. And the same comes when you also working with language service partners as well, because you're going to share your content with them. So having the same level of scrutiny with those partners, it's also quite important. And lastly, a lot of things that I talked about, about overcoming common localization challenges included technologies. And this is why it's important, to invest in technology. With the exponential growth of content requiring localization, it's impossible to do it without technology. So it's really central to the success and the scalability of a localization strategy. You will help with scalability, with automation, with data control. Successful localization strategy will require a performance system or a set of tools, it may not be just one system, that is robust, offers a high availability, it's secure, and lastly, and very important, is interoperable. And by that, I mean with a very, robust API that will allow you to deploy your own business integration, and that will cater to your automation requirements. And it's also important that whichever set of system and tool you're using will be able to generate meaningful analytical insights so that you can track and manage the evolution and the success of your localization program via a set of tangible metrics. So, there's a saying that and I really like it, if you can't measure it, you cannot manage it. So it's measuring, the efficiency of the localization program with good metrics is also very important. And Yuan, back to you.
Thank you. And I really totally agree with the last sentence you mentioned, Society, if you can measure it and you cannot manage this. So especially probably talking about the technology I can share, because I know we are a little bit over the schedule, but I will do my part really quick. So I just want to share, I would say, a fundamental problem we see from technology providers of view is that when we look into our enterprise clients, and often we saw that localization is undervalued. And this is coming from mostly because that it's rarely somebody use analytics or even KPI or kind of measures as like how localization brings the benefits over like throughout the business journey. And we do see that a lot of localization team leads quite frustrated when it comes to misalignment of department. There are some duplicated and manual efforts across, for example, product team, marketing team, and localization team. So for example, product team releases multiple changes a day of product copy, and marketing team is frequently asked updated collateral from localization team. It makes localization team it's like serves merely a translation request center for the whole organization, which we find out that it's a really huge pity for that. And the second one is that a lot of our clients, they previously used outdated technology. By outdated technology, perhaps, so for example, Google Sheet. It's a really typical things that some of our clients used before. We're not judging, so like Google Sheet or Google Slides are not a good tool, but they might not be an ideal tool when it comes to the localization, because you may lose your language IP, like translation memory and term base across the company. And these can lead to poor quality and potential risk of IP loss. And in the end, you may, as Taya mentioned in the really beginning, you may lose your profits in the new markets, or even in the worse, in the existing one. So to better capture the problems we mentioned, we have prepared a case study. This is extracted from our official website, from a blog post. So if you're interested in more data or more case study in your industry, feel free to visit our website to take a look. So today we are going to introduce Deliveroo, which is a food and grocery delivery platform that now collaborates with roughly 170,000 restaurants and grocery partners in 10 markets, including the UK, France, Kuwait, Singapore, with more than 3,500 global employees and 150,000 riders in their ecosystem. So the challenges were the first, multiple content type. As the business grows, they are not only localized web and mobile apps UI. The localization requests increase specifically for longer non-product content from other parts of Deliveroo, like legal, marketing, and communications articles. This kind of growth is coming from their rapid expansion of the market. And they realize that the current way of their workflow, which is quite manual, they used to use Google Sheet and Google Docs. So this is apparently probably not as scalable when it comes to translating hundreds of keys of data. So after we introduce a phrase localization platform, Phrase Suite, we managed to integrate with their design tool called Figma. This common use tool in the application design. So Deliveroo can receive all translation copy at once, enabling a faster and more robust QA process to drive quality. We managed to slash the project timeline by 3 to 4 days. And then for the longer paragraphs, like legal and marketing, we introduced translation management system and contextual machine translation to better pitch the local content. And in general, if we look into the number, 40% of the time saved by developers, designers, and localization managers. And from this use case, I just want to mention, it's probably also related to the tip we are going to mention by the end of this presentation, is that with the rise of AI or machine translation, what we are not trying to say is that we're going to take human people's job. What we are trying to introduce is that you can use human effort wisely. It's like, as I mentioned, the customized with the growth of the content volume. And we know we want to pinpoint the human editing in the really precise way. A good, probably a cycle we can mention is that we have an IT company. They push their content into the fully automated workflow. It's like it will be translated by customized engine. And then if the quality is good enough, it will directly go back to the publish. But if it is not good enough based on the quality performance score, it
Looks like Yuan is frozen. I'm not sure if it is. Do you think the recording will just continue maybe with us? So I'll just take over. We have a few more trends in AI and machine translation. Thomas already spoke about some, but at the moment it is really about, I'm not sure, do you think this is still recording? Okay, well, in any case, it is about, for you, the audience, to follow trends in machine translation. This is very important because things are changing every single day. What we know today at 8 p.m. is already different tomorrow. So follow the trends. Next, ethics. Ethics of AI is a really critical topic because there she is, Yuan, you're back.
sorry for the internet issue.
No, yeah, no problem. I just went the next slide because we're obviously nearing to the end, was about the few, if you want to share it again. It was about some other hints. And I was just saying, AI is not just another tool, right? So AI is a transformative technology that impacts many aspects of society. So unlike traditional tools, AI has the ability to learn, adapt, make decisions, often autonomously. So this is a really unique capability that raises complex ethical issues, including bias, privacy, accountability, and transparency. So AI systems can inadvertently perpetuate or even exacerbate societal inequalities. So we have to really be careful that it is designed and monitored carefully. Ethical considerations must address how data is collected and used, ensuring fairness and avoiding discrimination. So the decision-making processes of AI should be very transparent, explained to your clients to foster trust and accountability. And as AI continues to evolve and integrate into our daily life, it's really essential to approach its development and deployment with a strong ethical framework. What does it mean for localization? Do you state you have some output where you have the human in the loop? This is what we're doing for many of our clients. And for others, it is a straight raw AI output because this is pertinent and that is required for the scenario, user-generated content, for example. But will you state that your empty output is AI-generated? So a few questions here for you to think about. Also, generative AI, it can be actually used for content creation, not only for localization or post-editing purposes. So there's a big trend we're seeing here as well. We've heard about the secure communication. Again, check with your clients because we have clients where we go on premises, right? Privately hosted, trained own engines where the data cannot even go out to the cloud in another jurisdiction. Of course, we're at the end of the time, so I'm handing back over to Yuan. But from First Nations languages, which we also do, we cover, as I said, over 300 languages, the workflows are different. Important is that you, even if you have one takeaway from today, please also connect to us. I'm just saying you can easily find us on LinkedIn, connect to us, and we're also very happy to have other questions. So back to you, Yuan, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you all for sharing the really valuable feedbacks and so on. And I think that if everyone don't mind, it's a slide. Please scan Slido, and we will now start the QA session. So I will let Wendy, yes, our marketing manager, to probably open the Slido. Okay, right. So we have, great, we have a couple of questions. So I will probably, I will answer from the top down. So, okay. So first question, we're considering using MT in our workflows more. You mentioned it is possible to set up a human review workflow only for MT that have low quality. How do you define quality in that case? What kind of data would be most valuable for evaluating translation, in your opinion? So, Beatrice, Thomas, would you like to share your practice, or is this like from your experience? What are the data you were looking at?
I can take this one. Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And I think there's a few things that can be considered. There's a few ways to evaluate the quality. Some are very useful, such as automated quality metrics. So example of Phrase, for example, Phrase has developed this what they call the QPS, the quality performance score, which is a automated score from 0 to 100 that will give you an insight about the quality of automatically translated segments. And what you can do, technically in your project is that you can set a threshold. For example, let's say every segment over 80, I'm happy with the quality, so they can just they can bypass the human post editor. Anything under that, we have to go to to a human review. Defining quality is not easy, so the first thing that I would suggest to do is, first of all, thoroughly test the behavior of the automated quality evaluation system with the assistance of professional translators to make sure that it's reliable, that you can rely on it, you're happy with the score that it outputs. But also don't forget to also involve human in, for example, language quality assurance processes as well, to generate quality metrics from human and not just relying on automated. So I think that ideally you will have a mix of that. Of course, when we talk about scalability, the automation is very important, but having the human in the quality evaluation process at some touch point as well, it allows you to make the whole thing a lot more reliable.
Yeah, I do agree. And probably one more thing is that when it comes to quality, it can be like quite subjective. So a good way from my experience, I do see companies define quality level they want from different type of content. So for example, if it's technical documentation, if it is marketing content, what kind of business value these content brings. So the higher business value content, you ideally want to you would like to ask for a higher quality, which is which is certainty. And in this case, you might probably spare more budget on it. And or I think a good way to also do is probably consult with certified language service provider, because usually LSP have the enough knowledge of defining quality and as well as more experience on it. And probably the second question, what is the most critical step to start AI? Well, that's a quite broad question, to be honest. It's like, but it's a really nice question. So Beatrice, Thomas, do you have any feedback or any thought about that?
Yeah, I think when you start with AI, I guess the best way to approach it, and that's how we did with 2M. So I can come from from our perspective at 2M Language Services, is to approach it almost as a research and development project. And what it means is that you're going to pilot different solutions, and then you're going to experiment, and then you're going to generate reports and meaningful metrics that gives you tangible information about the result of your experiments. This is how we approach it at 2M, and we try to do that with our client as well, because that gives them the highest level of transparency as well. and that really sets you up ideally for successful implementation later. If, for example, an experiment was successful, then you can expand the pilot to, production and operational system as well. So yeah, that's a really good way to start with AI, I think. And it's also like, because Tia mentioned about, like security, privacy, and ethical concern as well, you can include that when you approach it from an experiment point of view as well. So you can protect yourself potentially against those adverse effects rather than, implementing it directly in operational processes.
And I would also
definitely.
add, sorry. Yeah, I would also add, understanding what's your final goal, what is that you need to achieve in terms of quality, what is going to be required for your market, because there's different workflows you can undertake with AI, different things that you can, achieve, also different extent to which you can decide to have translators involved or not. So that's really important that you are aware of what your requirements are, what is that you need to achieve to identify how you're going to use AI.
Yeah, it is, because when it comes to AI, there are quite a lot of. Are you looking to, for example, ChatGPT, this kind of LLM, or are you looking to just like customized engine or this type of AI? There are many tools under the umbrella so-called AI. So I think the first step is probably to define this, what are the pain points you are trying to solve, and then we can see that which AI technology can help with it. So it would be, I would say, a more efficient way to start with AI. And then, as Thomas mentioned, it's like whether there's any security or compliance your organization need to follow, so that there's no data breach, or we don't encounter any risky situation. Yeah. So I think we have most of the question done, and I think this is perhaps the end of today's panel. So thank you for joining with us today, and I'm happy to, yes, sorry.
Yes, sorry, before leaving, just want to say, yeah, thank you. And I think there might be also, yes, that's right. Tia had to jump off to get her flight to Europe. She was very sorry, but really we are encouraging everyone here to reach out if they have any questions in terms of, what we have discussed today. Tia will also be in Europe, so I believe she will meet with the phrase team as well. Yes. Very exciting. Yes, so feel free to reach out. We look forward to any questions.
Yes, definitely. So we share our contacts here. So you can either scan the QR code to visit our websites to have a closer contact to consult with your current localization situation and how we can help you with a better localization experience. So then I think this is the end of our session. Thank you all for staying with us, and we see you in the next webinar. Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.